That's not 2 times speed.
All right, coming to you live from my. I don't
We
even
were
know where I am right now.
sabotaged
We were
of
sabotaged.
_2 intro.
Yeah, it went too slow for us. Uh, anyway, welcome back. It's me and this guy, the Crystal Panda. Today.
Yep. We're here to talk about fast-paced gameplay with slow intros.
Heck yeah!
Uh,
Heck yeah! So, you know,
well, they weren't the fastest plays, but like they were pretty fast.
so for the last 3 episodes, they've been like in a row. They were like 1 day away from each other, 1 or 2 days away from each other. This time we actually had a decent break, about a 4 day break, I think. So now
Yep.
we're relaxed. You know, we're spiritually more aligned with the heavens and all that stuff. So we're good to go.
Yeah.
So right now
The
here,
heavens are telling me that Ryan and Neff were voted out.
unfortunately, very unfortunately, two players that I had really high hopes for, they're dead now. That's okay.
Yeah, 2 contenders back to back.
Yeah. Um, I will say that um, you know, the season is one of the better ones. I'll say that. No matter what happens, I think the season will go down as one of the better ones. Unless we get like 5 quits, of course,
Yeah,
that'd be incredibly lame. But yeah.
that incredibly lame. Yeah.
Anyway, so we're gonna quickly recap the last 2 episodes. So episode 7,
Yep.
which was titled, I don't actually remember what it was titled. um, what was the challenge again, TCP? I'm kind of blanking on it.
The challenge was they had to do touchy subjects,
No,
but they were
that was
doing
the
it with the
previous one.
Zodiac.
No, that was the previous one.
Oh,
What was the 2 rounds ago?
the challenge was Pome Pome.
Right. Pome Pome health class. And Guy, for some reason, decided to go crazy. Got a million. Beat Neff, which triggered her necklace. So Guy and Neff were both immune at this tribal council. And I think one of the funniest moves I've ever seen, something straight out of my playbook, happened. I don't know if you noticed, TCP, but Neff and Saps pretended they got into a big fight.
I did not notice that.
So they pretended that they were beefing. They got into a big fight, and Ryan was like, "Oh crap, they're fighting. That means they're not together." But meanwhile,
Yeah, no.
Saps, I think both of them actually go to Nick, and they're like, "Hey, look, your name's out there, but we want to get rid of Ryan." And so
I
Nick,
actually think that
hmm?
Guy actually approaches them too about this at the same time.
Yeah, maybe it was that. But
Because Guy approached Nick and Zoe first, wanting to do a flip,
yeah,
because Guy wasn't feeling comfortable where he was in his alliance.
yeah, get rid of
So
the
he wanted to do a flip,
second in command.
and he wanted to take out the big threat, which was, in his eyes, Ryan.
Yeah,
And I will say, since the beginning of Merge, I have been noticing, having my eyes out for these messages of Saps spreading the word of Ryan, and the prophecy came true, and
yes.
Ryan went.
Ryan went. He was getting too comfortable with Ecto. They were like, "This is a duo. We need to get rid of him." And so Ecto and Emma were both blindsided, while the rest of the game chucked Ryan out the window, basically.
And
And
Ryan himself was pretty blindsided too, right?
yeah, he was. And I can't say that I'm surprised because I kind of thought that Ryan's gonna shoot himself in the foot, isn't he? And he sort of kind of did. Um, what's funny to me is
And-
that Ryan was like, "I'm the biggest shield here," but I don't think that's true at all. I think like this game is full of shields. Everyone but Emma
Yeah.
and Tiny are really shields.
I have to say, we didn't talk about the beginning of the scramble either. How the scramble really started is Ecto started pushing really hard for Nick to actually go. And he talked around and he got a lot of people on board for going for Nick. And he had this interesting conversation with Guy, and he was like, I think that Nick might try to flip this on the person who's targeting him. And he's like, I'm kind of worried he's gonna flip this on me. And Guy's like, oh no, don't worry, he's not gonna flip it on you. Meanwhile, in the background, he's trying to flip it on Ryan, which
Exactly.
was a conversation I found very funny. But Ecto did not find himself it being very funny because he was very much blindsided. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. And honestly, I think that this game is gonna get pretty heated up going forward after that blind side. Anyway, is that all for episode 8 or episode 7? I guess is that all for episode 7?
I will say in this episode, Nick is being talked about way more. People are talking, or at least Guy is talking about Nick being like, "Oh, he's had his name out there so many times and he's survived so many votes. He's gonna be a huge threat." Meanwhile, Nick's probably been targeted like twice now.
Exactly. Nick is, he's doing the work, I guess. So that's episode 7. Who would you consider the MVP of this episode?
Of episode 7, I would say probably
Hmm.
Guy or Nick.
Really, Guy or Nick? I would say, yeah. I would say Guy as well. I think Guy was quite possibly the instigator of that blind side. Um, though Saps was hilarious in this episode, though making fun of Ryan's thing, that was so funny. But yeah, no, I think Guy led the charges, and I don't think people are necessarily looking at him. Now,
Well,
episode,
people are
hmm?
looking at him after this as a
Yeah,
threat now.
but more so than Nick or Saps or Zoe, Ecto
I
even.
wouldn't say more so than Nick, and Neff and Saps definitely had a bigger target than Guy when they were together,
Yeah.
but obviously that target kind of blows up in the face of Neff this tribal, where I guess how to start, it very much comes off the backlash of last tribal, where Emma and Ecto were very quite angry after seeing the results. Both of them were like trying to talk around and see what happened. And I think Emma was more openly angry than Ecto, but both of them were pretty pissed.
Yeah.
So what they end up doing is that they form a new alliance, and I think this is a pretty cool alliance.
The Renaissance.
Um, the Renaissance Alliance, where they got a bunch of the people who were previously either targeted or on the bottom of things and tried to get them together to orchestrate and vote. And somehow Guy got in that alliance. I can't tell you why Guy is in that alliance, but Guy is in that alliance with
Exactly.
Nick, Zoe, Ecto, and Emma.
It's a very strong
And their
alliance.
plan was to target Neff or Saps, and they specifically decided to target Neff because Neff, they suspected Neff to be holding an idol.
And she was. Um,
And this could have gone very wrong, but I think the danger of this push was very much shadowed by the creation of another alliance, the Woman
the
Alliance,
Women Alliance, yes. For the first time in
where
org history, I think the women outnumbered the men. We had 5 women to 4 men. Unfortunately, it's now 4-4, but it's pretty epic, I'd say.
so
Pretty epic.
Saps created an alliance with all the women,
Mostly as a joke, but
and they started talking, and I think a part of their conversation got to the point of deciding between Tiny and Nick. And this Tiny and Nick conversation for them, at least for a while in this scramble, becomes like the smoke screen for be covering up this actual Neff plan that was pretty much in place since nearly the beginning of this scramble, right?
exactly, yeah, yeah. And so they didn't know. I don't think they knew. I think Saps was only told super last minute, and instead of warning
Yeah,
Neff, and to be fair, Neff was offline anyway. But instead of warning her, Saps is like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, let's kill her. Um,
yeah. Saps, Tiny, and Cass were notified last minute.
Yeah,
Uh, Cass a bit before Saps and Tiny,
I find that
but they were
interesting.
notified
Yeah,
very late that there was a move on Neff.
yeah. And I find that interesting that
And
Saps
like,
didn't choose to save her. I think that it's a very risky move, but it might pay off.
yeah, during these last minutes, I very much expected for like Saps to like ping Neff to come on and just like throw the arrow and like protect herself.
Yeah,
That would have sent Nick home, and I would have been very sad to see that happen. But
exactly.
like, I'm kind of more curious on how things change now that Neff is gone, because that very much changes what
That
Saps's game is.
Yeah, not only does it change
I
Saps'
think
game, I think that changes the whole game because she was the by far the biggest threat with the advantages and her social game and her challenge abilities. But now that she's gone, it's like, what's gonna happen now? I don't know.
I think things are gonna continue going. I think the main strategic forces of this game are going to be Ecto, Guy, Nick, and Saps, and one of them is going to make another move. I think even going into this next
Yeah.
scramble.
So, um, so here's what I think right now. Um, TCP. I think before we go into the individual player rankings, we should give the MVP of this episode. Who do you say is the MVP of episode 9?
The MVP of this episode is definitely
Yeah, it
Ecto.
has to be
He was
Ecto.
very much the organizer of the Renaissance Alliance,
Yeah, he
and
kept it
they did
stable.
such a good job
He
this
won
episode.
immunity. He beat Challenge Queen herself, Neff. Um, and they did a very good job at hiding it. Because usually in seasons where you want to bait an idol or you want to flush an idol or whatever, you have to act like you're not voting for them, and people usually fuck up on that regard really badly. But I think this is the one time where
Yeah,
they did an amazing job at keeping it a secret. People usually
yeah.
there's always that one member who manages to accidentally spill the beans, um, either on
Or
purpose or not.
purposely spill the beans.
On purpose or not, maybe they accidentally spill the beans. But yeah, no, good job to them. They definitely and they got Saps to not tell Neff. You think Saps? They'd be like, hey, you know, they would make it so that Saps would tell Neff, but Saps didn't tell Neff.
I don't know if it's a good idea or a bad idea for Saps because it definitely reduces her target
Yeah,
for at least a couple of votes.
but now the advantages are not here anymore, right? So she could have had the advantages at her disposal. But then again,
Mm.
Neff challenge Beast, and if Neff's immune, who are they going to go for? They're going to go for Saps, right? So good move
Yeah.
on her part, I think. Now, here's what I think. I think we should rank the players now, the 8 players in the game, and I'm going to start off with
This is
Saps.
gonna be tough, I feel.
Hmm? What do you say?
Right now, after getting or like kind of being on the bottom of this vote, she kind of had to flip last minute to be in the majority.
Yeah, I think
I
Saps
think
is a contender now. I don't think she's in any danger now that her friend Neff is gone. They're like, oh, it's Saps. She's all alone. She has no real power. They want to. I'm pretty sure Ecto wants to keep her for a while. So I think Saps is contender at this point.
I think that's correct.
I don't think she's in any danger anymore. I think that was a brilliant move on her part. It's very hard to go from danger to not danger, but she did it. Hopefully, I don't eat
Another
my
thing to
words.
note is
Yeah.
I think this is gonna be tough. This is what I'm thinking right now. I think we only have two contenders,
Really?
and a lot of people in danger, and a few floaters.
Is Saps not one of
That's what
them?
I'm
Is Saps
thinking.
not one of the people?
I think Saps is one of the contenders,
Interesting. Yeah, I
and
agree.
the other contender, I don't know if she's still gonna be a contender simply because of her relationship with Cass, and that potentially bubbling over and potentially putting her into one of the danger categories. But I think Zoe is the other contender from my
Zoe.
perspective.
I'm thinking about it. Okay,
I think
let's talk about
between
Saps first. Let's,
her,
let's talk about Saps first. How about it?
okay,
um,
S- Saps right now after losing Neff, she kind of has a bond with I
with
feel a lot of people on this
yeah,
tribe,
with
but
Ecto,
mainly
with Guy, with Emma a little bit. I think with Zoe a little bit.
yeah. But I think she's pretty good, or at least I think that she's good with Guy, and probably she's still gonna want to work with the girls,
I agree.
even though that like things didn't work out.
I think now mark my words here. I think a male is going home final eight. I can't see it not being either Guy, Ecto, or Nick. Right. It's gonna be one of those
Yeah,
three, and it's just a matter of which one it's gonna be. Um, and I don't know which one it's gonna be, but it's gonna be interesting. And I
I
think
think
Saps will
right.
lead the charges against whoever it is.
I think Saps could definitely make control a move going further. I think she didn't lose too much social capital with
Exactly.
being targeted with Neff, and instead like kind of gains it with losing her.
And she has the only advantage in the game now. She has the vote block, which is not great, of course, but it's something, right?
But this is why I think that Zoe is going back into contenders.
Yes.
Um,
No one is going for
I
her
think
anymore.
yeah, no one is going for her anymore. Between her and Nick, I believe that she's seen as a duo with Nick, but Nick has become the much bigger target simply because people like Ecto and or people like Ecto and Guy see him as more of like the strategic threat and not just a threat in general for surviving votes. Even though that like they're the reason why he survived votes, right?
Exactly. That's kind of funny. I think what another benefit between Zoe and Nick, and we're talking about Zoe here first, um, because we always group Zoe and Nick together. So we're talking about Zoe for now. Um, is that it's sort of like you last season, where you, Static, and Hab were always you guys were allies, but you were always like bickering, right? So that's what
Yeah,
downplayed the alliance a lot. And I think that's the same thing here. I think people know that Nick and Zoe have bickered in the past, so they're like they're not a duo anymore, even though they kind of are. I think that works to their
yeah.
benefit. But yeah, no,
This is
I agree.
this is what I think.
Yeah, what do you think?
Or this is my headcanon going further. I think that Nick is going to be in quite a bit of danger for the final 8 and final 7 vote.
Yeah,
But right after Nick goes, that cuts any ties Zoe has to keeping Cass in the game.
yeah,
And I think Zoe is going to have the capabilities after like make being a part of these moves on Ryan and Neff, like being in the main groups, like targeting them.
yeah,
I think she'll have the capital now with like anyone left in the game, like Saps or like Guy or like Ecto,
exactly,
if Guy or Ecto survive, to take the shot at Cass.
exactly. I think that's the case as well. Um, Now, here's what I also think about my boy. Actually, wait, no. So yeah, we're done there. Saps and Zoe are the two contenders.
Yeah,
All right. So I guess we'll go to Nick next then.
yeah,
So yeah, Nick on the other hand, I'd lower him from light danger to danger. I think Nick is so much danger. Everyone's saying his name. People are like, "Yeah, let's just get rid of him at 8. He's gaining too much momentum. He survived too long. And I think, and this will be the first time Nick gets eliminated in a 2DK season because he won one. He had to go to the military and medevac, and then he lost to fire making. So he'll be voted out for the first time ever, really soon.
yeah. I think it's very funny that Guy is kind of like our narrator for this season.
Yeah,
He's what
he
what
thought it'd
he
be
says
Ecto.
kind of goes so far,
Yeah,
and him starting to talk about Nick being like, "Oh, Nick survived all these votes." Like you're the reason why Nick is a target. And Guy can really cut Nick at any time. I don't
yeah.
think it's actually good for Guy to cut Nick, but I think he's definitely thinking about doing it soon. And once he does, I think Guy's game is going to go on blast
I agree.
pretty
I think
soon.
I
So,
think Guy here, or no, we'll talk about Nick first. I think Nick here. I don't really think there's much he can do. I think he could try to flip it on Ecto and Guy, but I think that's really the only move he has. Right, the only move he has to flip on one of those two guys.
yeah.
But if he can't do that, then it's over for him.
I actually think that Guy, Ecto, and Nick kind of need each other right now. I think
Yeah,
they need a target kind of like some of the lower targets because if they keep on going big move after big move after big move after big move,
Yeah,
like who are they going to hide behind when it's like they're the obvious target,
and I
right?
think I agree. And I think going for Neff was sort of a double-edged sword play, in a sense that yes, they got rid of
Yeah.
a big threat, but who's the next big threat? It's them. So it's not not without its consequences.
They're gonna definitely have to pool their resources and take a shot at
One of the
people
girls.
who are I was about to say would be more floatery,
Yeah.
but I'll say probably are in light danger to danger potentially, which are I think Tiny and Cass right now.
Yeah.
I think Tiny and Cass are the people who are kind of floatery and also targetable.
Targetable. So we're moving on to Tiny and Cass now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think for Tiny, I'll do Tiny first. I think Tiny is a floater, but he's definitely a floater threat because he could go to the end with Cass and Emma and yeah, Cass or Emma and Emma, and he would win. I think Tiny has the bonds and the social game to bring him to victory. He can
I
pull a
don't think he
jersey
would.
against Emma and Cass. Well, I don't
I
think it's
I I
guaranteed. I don't think it's guaranteed, but that's his best shot, right? And I think it's a pretty fair
yeah,
shot.
right now that's his best shot.
I don't think it's a guaranteed win at all, but I think it's a very fair shot. It's like maybe like 40%. I put it. Um,
Potentially Zoe based on how people feel about her.
yeah, he's only a floater right now because there's way bigger threats. But once we hit Final Six, Final Five, well, maybe we'll have a different story for Tiny. I have confidence in him.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be a zero vote finalist. I don't think he's going to be a goat. But I think it really depends on how these next few rounds go. Um,
Yeah.
and I think now mark my words. The final five will be the four women and Tiny. Mark my words. It's gonna happen.
I don't
I
see
can see it.
that.
I can see it. I can see Nick going and then Ecto
I
guy.
don't see that happening. I think that
I think
Tiny and Cass can be easily one of the next two to go
I can't see
because
it.
this is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Ecto and Emma are kind of like coming together as a duo per
Yeah.
se. And Guy no longer really has Tiny. No one really has Tiny anymore. That's kind of why he was left out of everything for this vote. I
Yeah.
guess Saps kind of has Tiny, but like Saps knew that Tiny's name was out there, and Nick was just like the easier target for her. Um,
Yeah, I agree. Oh man.
but like now Cass isn't really like connected to people. Tiny's really like not connected to people, and like people are not really thinking of them as people they want to work with. They're just kind of thinking of them as like numbers that are there. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's a really dangerous spot when the big targets are starting to think, oh shit, there's not a lot of big targets left. We need to start taking out these non-big targets.
Exactly. These
And
guys are. Yeah. Um.
I think the Renaissance might have one more shot, and
Yeah.
it could be at class.
And
So that's why I
and
think
you see it as Tiny or Cass, not Saps. Really? That's interesting.
Saps.
I
I
see
don't
it
think
as
Saps
Saps.
would be a
I see like
target.
Saps the most likely of to be targeted by the five, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Still, it's weird.
I
I think
think
it's the most likely,
I
but I don't
think
think it's
it's
gonna happen.
Cass that's most likely
Really.
because
So
Saps is a bigger name.
yeah, that's
Like
true.
that's more appealing to keep around as just someone who's eventually going to be like, oh, you're either going to have to take them to the end to win, or you can take me to the end to win. Something like that.
I'm gonna lower. So Tiny is unfortunately a floater because I love Tiny, but he's a floater now. Cass, will we put Cass in the same boat as Tiny? They're both floaters.
I put Cass in danger. I
Danger,
think that
really.
she's in quite a bit of danger.
I I'll put her in light danger because I really can't see Cass going over Nick, Ecto, or Guy. I think Nick, Ecto, and Guy are
I can see Cass going over Nick, Ecto, and Guy.
really.
The specific situation where Cass goes over Nick, Ecto, or Guy is where Ecto, Guy reach out to like Nick, be like, "Oh, we need targets in the game." They realize that Zoe still has a grudge with Cass, and they just have. I don't know if Emma would go along with Ecto for Cass, but she might because of the Renaissance Alliance. And then Cass just goes.
Oh my god. Yeah. Cass. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see because from what I've heard, they want to cut Nick out, but maybe it's a facade. Maybe they're trying to trick people. They're trying to trick
If
Saps
if
and
they
others.
realize what's good for them, they'll
Yeah,
keep Nick in the game at
yeah,
least a little bit longer. He
yeah.
might go at 7, but they should keep him at 8, I think.
All right. So next up, we got three left. We got Ecto, Guy, and Emma. Who are we gonna do? Um,
I think that Emma is very safe.
I think Emma.
The argument is whether she's a contender or if she's a floater because she's like the number 2 to Ecto right now.
I'd put her as floater, but not in a bad way. I don't think she's a bad floater. I think she could. I wouldn't say easily, but I think she can take the W if things go her way. If she goes to the end with Tiny or Cass, I think that she is in a very sweet spot, the Jersey spot
Thi-
almost.
This is this is how I see Emma kind of moving up. I think that in the situation where people are like, "Oh, let's go for Cass," or like, "Oh, let's go for Tiny," if Emma steps up and goes like, "How about we go for Saps instead?" and then she gets people on board with her, that could be like the kind of move that would move her to a contender and keep around people that might see her as a weaker person to take the end without knowing how strong of a game she's playing.
Yeah, I agree. I think Emma is like a hidden badass right now. I think she could definitely do very, very well.
Yeah.
All right, so last two, the two bigger. When I say bigger, I don't think people. I think people know that they're bigger threats, but I think that they think they're mid-tiered threats. But they're actually, in my opinion, the biggest threats in the game. Ecto and Guy.
Yeah.
Well, I'll do Ecto first because I honestly think that that big move against Neff honestly hurts him more than anything. I think
Yeah,
that
it was
actually
too
hurts him.
big.
It was a little too
Almost.
big, and now he's one of the biggest threats. I can see the Renaissance flipping on him almost immediately. I can see Saps flipping on him. I can see a lot of things happening with Ecto. I would put
Yeah,
Ecto in light danger at this point.
I think Ecto's in light danger too. I think he's once again like the big dog. Like at the very start of the game, he was like the big dog, him and Neff. And now that Neff has kind of been taken out for like that status,
Yeah,
well, I think Echo is doing a better job than Neff of like lowering his threat level. Now he's emerged, and people are like, "Oh shit, this is the person who replaced Neff. Let's potentially cut him soon." And I
exactly.
think that Echo is setting himself very much up to be like a final 7, a final 6, a final 5 kind of boot.
Yeah, I think that was sort of the consequence of his big move, a little too big, and now he might pay the price for it.
Yeah.
Now the
And
thing
I
with
think Guy too is also in a similar spot as Ecto now. I don't really see them as like I think they're like on par with each other with like every I think everyone should be able to see that they are
they're
well
sort of a
connected, that
duo.
they're making moves.
Yeah,
Because like Guy was the main person for the Ryan boot. Ecto was the main person for the Neff boot, but Guy was very much involved with the Neff boot. He's the one who like let in Saps at the last moment in on that information. So like
yeah,
he's still like a huge guy.
yeah. He's a
Pun
huge guy.
intended, I guess.
I think Ecto's in more danger than Guy, but I think these two they need each other. They need Nick. They need each other. They need Zoe. They need all these they need these bigger threats to hopefully be the shields for them. But I think they're the
They
shields for
need
everyone else.
Renaissance to be
They need the Renaissance to
go.
stick together, right?
Yeah,
And I think Emma will. I think Emma will stick together. But Nick and Zoe, I think Nick and Zoe are lots of potential to flip those two.
all of them need each other. I
They
feel,
all need
and
each
I
other.
don't know if they realize that they need each other.
Yeah.
And
Now,
that's kind of worrying for like a lot of my favorites for the game. I think it's a good news if a blow up happens for specifically Zoe. I'm expecting a blow up to happen,
yeah,
and I'd like to see like Zoe to take that momentum, kind of take control like we saw her do in the early game, and then like use that to win the game. I'd be
exactly.
really happy to see something like that happen, but like
Yeah, it's really it's gonna come down to the wire this season. There's no obvious winner. You know, I hate to say it, but once you were gone, TCP Jersey was the obvious winner. It was either you or Jersey at the final like 8 or whatever. This time around, I have no idea at the final 8. I have no idea what's gonna happen. It could be anyone. So for the winner, I don't know who I'd put for the winner. I'd put Saps as the winner.
I think Saps is more likely the winner for than Zoe right now. I think Zoe has some things that she needs to overcome. Like her rivalry with Cass was kind of seen as like a very villainous thing from Zoe's side. That's why Gunwana was had so much momentum against him.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of like bad blood is kind of died down a little bit, at least as seen for her. And if she like is able to take a move at Cass without like revitalizing that blow up and happening again, uh, I think she can win. But Saps is more, I think, like in a pretty good spot, and like she has a lot of options right now that are good for her game.
Yeah, I yeah, I agree. I think mark my words, a woman is gonna win this season. That's all I'm gonna say. Whoever it is, it's gonna be
Oh
a woman.
no!
I'm gonna
You
say
do
that.
it. You do
I'm
it.
pulling a Sandra.
Cursing it. Oh no!
Ecto,
Now, like, Guy is going to win for sure.
Ecto,
You
Guy, and
just called
Nick.
it.
Guy, and Nick aren't winning this season. Not that I don't like them. It's just I think they're gonna go in a row. It's gonna be boop boop boop, all in a
You're
row.
pulling off Red Jones. They're gonna make it so far now because of you.
All right. So yeah, that's our list. I think, yeah, funnily enough, after Neff goes home, we consider Saps the winner. I think that's pretty comedic. But yeah, mark my words, it's happening. So yeah, that's the final 8 episode. There's only 2 episodes left after this. Very sad, but yeah, everything has to come to an end. So yeah, we'll see you at the final 6.
Find out next time if we ever stop falling down the hill and getting glue on
All
our
right.
hands.
And that's it for Total Drama Podcast.